Hi Russet. So here is our new book for this term. It's called The Nowhere Emporium and it's by Ross Mackenzie. Now before I start reading, I would like you to write down in your book, the lined book, exercise book that you took home with you, the title of the book, The Nowhere Emporium, the author of the book, Ross Mackenzie, and I'd like you to pause the video and go and find out what Emporium means. Okay, so you've written down what Emporium means. Now the title of the book is The Nowhere Emporium. So why do you think it might be called The Nowhere Emporium? Pause the video and write down why you think it might be called The Nowhere Emporium. Remember, when it's a why you think question, there's not always a right answer. It's just being able to justify, think beyond the words that are in front of you. So why do you think it is called the Nowhere Emporium? Okay, so here we go. It's a bit different, isn't it? Listening to a book via video. Oh, now the first part of the book is a prologue. So again, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and go and find out what the word prologue means. You might already know, or you might be able to use your knowledge of words. Pro being the prefix and log being the root word. So you might already know that. If you don't, go and look it up and jot it down again in your book. What does the word prologue mean? Okay, here we go. Prologue, the shop from nowhere. The shop from nowhere arrived with the dawn on a crisp November morning. Word travelled quickly around the village, and by midday the place was abuzz with rumour and hearsay. There were 4 shops in a row yesterday. Today there are 5. Did you hear? It sits between the butchers and the ironmongers. The brickwork is black as midnight, and it sparkles strangely in the light. By evening time, a curious crowd had begun to gather around the mysterious building. They jostled for position and traded strange and wonderful theories about where the shop had come from and what it might sell, all the while hoping to catch a glimpse of movement through the darkened windows. The shop was indeed built from bricks the colour of midnight, bricks that shimmered and sparkled under the glow of the gas street lamps. Blocking the doorway was a golden gate so fine and intricate that some wondrous spider might have spun it. Over the windows, curling letters spelled out a name: The Nowhere Emporium. There was a glimmer of movement in the entranceway, and a ripple of excitement passed through the crowd. Now that term, ripple of excitement, and it passed through the crowd. Why do you think the author has used the word ripple, a ripple of excitement? Think about what the word ripple is usually used for. Pause the video and jot down why you think the author has used the words ripple of excitement. Okay, I'm going to carry on. There was a glimmer of movement in the entranceway, and a ripple of excitement passed through the crowd. And then silence fell. A silence so deep and heavy that it seemed to hang in the atmosphere like mist. The shop's door swung open. The fine golden gate turned to dust, scattering in the wind. The air was suddenly alive with 100 scents. The perfume of toasted coconut and baking bread, of salty sea air and freshly fallen rain, of bonfires and melting ice. A dove emerged from the darkness of the shop and soared through the air, wings flashing white in the blackness. The enchanted crowd watched as it climbed until it was lost to the night. And then, as one, they gasped. The black sky exploded with light and colour, and a message in dazzling fireworks, sparks and shimmers spelled out: The Nowhere Emporium is open for business. Bring your imagination. The writing hung in the air, just long enough for everyone to read it, and then the words began falling to the ground, a rain of golden light. The crowd laughed in delight, reaching out to catch the sparks as they fell. Everybody who gathered outside the Emporium was entranced. No one had ever seen such a spectacle as this. One by one, they walked forward, touched the sparkling black brickwork, examined the tips of their fingers, and then they stepped through the door to find out what was waiting. 2 days later, when the shop had vanished, a stranger arrived in the village. He was polite, and he paid for his room with stiff new banknotes. But something about him, his startling height perhaps, or the hungry look in his cold blue eyes, troubled the villagers. He asked questions about a shop built from midnight bricks, but the tall man couldn't find a single person in the village who could recall the Emporium. Within a day, he too was gone, and all trace of these strange events faded from the history of the place. Those who had walked through the Emporium's doors had no memory of anything they might have seen inside. More importantly, none of them recalled the price of admission, the little piece of themselves they'd given for a glimpse at the Emporium's hidden secrets and wonders. Bring your imagination, the sign in the sky had requested. And that is the prologue, and that is all we're going to read to you before next Monday. Now, I think what we would like you to do is to perhaps listen to that a couple of times, and maybe on a piece of A4 you could maybe create a little spider diagram. So a spider diagram, and you're going to have seen this, looks like this. So you've got something in the middle, and then you've got arrows coming out. And what we would like you to do is create a little spider diagram of your own with the book title at the centre. You could draw the book cover if you wanted, or you could just write the name of the book. And coming out from it, some different arrows. And what we'd like you to write are two things. One, we'd like you to write questions that you've got at the moment about the book. So you might come up with 3 or 4 questions that you would like to answered by the time we finish reading the book. And 2, things that you already know about the Emporium, things that you already know about the Nowhere Emporium. So what have you learned from the prologue about the Nowhere Emporium? So those are the 2 different things. You might have 3 or 4 arrows giving questions and 3 or 4 arrows giving facts that you now know about the Emporium. Okay, thanks. Bye.